Welcome back. If you're feeling a little hotter recently, it's not your imagination. If you feel that there's been more natural disasters lately, well, once again here, it is not your mind playing tricks on you. According to a new report, global warming accelerating, and again, we are to blame. Hundreds of scientists from around the globe releasing their annual State of the Climate report earlier this week, a report that for the first time links recent weather extremes to man. And joining us now to explain, Eric Pooley, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Communications at the Environmental Defense Fund. Eric, thank you very much for a few minutes. Now, there have been climate change deniers and all the rest, so let's just put a little significance to not just the report, but also the sources of the report and who's endorsed the report, because literally it goes to the federal government.
Let's start with what's happening right now, Rich, because I think one of the things this report is saying is that what Americans are sensing is true. We are enduring the hottest weather in our recorded history this year. Back to 1895, when we started keeping track of this stuff, it has never been as hot for 12 months in a row as it has been over the last 12. And if you just look around the country, the all-time temperature records that we're setting are unbelievable. Little Rock, 114, Wichita, 111, Houston, 109, Newark, 108, Bridgeport, 103. It goes on and on and on. And what's happening here is that we're finally seeing the signal of climate change emerge from the noise of weather. So we've been pumping billions of tons of CO2 into the atmosphere for generations. And this traps heat. You know, it's a high school science experiment. You can just put it into an aquarium and the temperature goes up. Well, that's what we're doing writ large to the world. And what the scientists are saying, and it's the federal government, it's the National Aeronautic and Oceanographic Administration. They're the guys paid to keep track of this stuff. They say that now it is clear that this is man's fingerprint, not on any one day, not on any one storm necessarily, but it's like steroids in a baseball player. Can you say he wouldn't have hit that home run if he wasn't juicing? But the home runs are going further than they used to.
There was one number beyond just the crazy temps and the crazy highs in places that, Wisconsin, 109, stuff that this wasn't a random event. The same organization you talked about, the NOAA, they said that in the past 12 months, they've been the warmest 12 months, as Eric mentioned, since going back to records of 85. But here's the second part, which to me was most significant. According to the organization, the odds of such record heat being a random event, 1 in 1.6 million. So before people dismiss 2012 as just a hot year, this is part of a broader trend. And I guess this gets to the bigger question. Is this going to be our new normal?
Well, this is what climate change looks like, hotter and more chaotic. And if you think about it, and you're absolutely right, Rich, it is all about the trend. The 80s were hotter than the 1970s. The 1990s were hotter than the 1980s. 2000s, hotter than the 90s. And now, hotter than it's ever been before. The trend is up and up and up. And that's why you're getting people like Rex Tillerson, the CEO of ExxonMobil, last week saying climate change is real and man is responsible. ExxonMobil for decades has been in the deny and delay camp. Rupert Murdoch is saying it, right? And Republican governors like John Kasich in Ohio. This is breaking down now what had been a real ideological battle, and it was a shame, but it was an issue that was associated with liberal Democrats.
Now, Eric,
and now it's moving beyond that again.
Now, just in terms of the new normal and the trending, the consequences, and we see it every day when they flick on their screen. They'll see forest fires here igniting like a tinderbox. We're seeing droughts, and I think droughts are more than 56% of the U.S. are under drought conditions right now. And we're also seeing more extreme weathers. Even in the winter months here, it goes, and it's not just when people say, hey, well, we got a lot of snow, not this past year. Well, there are consequences that goes to both extremes, and we're going to see more extreme weather, hurricanes, et cetera, right?
Just today, the U.S. government declared a third of the country a federal disaster area because of drought. So that's 1,000 counties in 26 states. 1/3 of all the counties in the country are now disaster areas because of the drought you just mentioned. That's a direct byproduct of climate change. The droughts, the storms, the intensity of the storms. Hawaii had hailstones 4.5 inches wide in March. A lot of it is timing and location. Minnesota and Michigan recording upper 80s temperatures in March. That never happens. It's happening now. So things are changing completely. we ought to get used
And
to
it's
it.
happening faster than you guys even thought it was,
Much
right?
faster, and we need to really get serious and do something about it,
And
right?
we're going to have you back to get into the solutions, but at least we're getting past the phase of having a debate about what's happening. Is it real? It is, and there's acknowledgments to it. And the consequences, and I just want the public to just chew on this. Hey, well, it was a bad year and it was tough, but it'll get better next year. Every trending says if it got hotter from the 70s to the 80s, from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, and now to this decade here, it's going to get worse. And we really need an emergency dialogue in this country and really in this globe here to get behind this. You can't do this piecemeal, right?
I couldn't have said it better myself, Rich.
All right, well, and I actually got us on time here. Eric, you're going to come back and we're going to talk about what we could do and should do as a nation and also society here to do something about it.